So yeah, perfect. I think there was a question on the chatter which asked like, was this recorded? Now it is. Yeah, I'm excited to kind of spend an afternoon, Friday afternoon with you to kind of talk about LinkedIn. So I know that your question was about premium license versus Sales Navigator license. So let's get to it. So premium license is something which is typically used by people who are, let's take business leader who may not actually be doing a lot of let's take hardcore sales activity, but would love to have that golden in badge on their profile. Secondly, they want to maybe connect with a few people that they might meet at a conference somewhere. So for example, let's take you are running a brand like, let's take Anita Dongre, right? And let's take you are a brand ambassador of or let's take a marketing head of that brand, and you happen to meet somebody who is like a business leader at a forum, and you just happen to have this name. Then what will happen is that you would not be able to probably see their profiles correctly when you're using the basic version of LinkedIn. So a premium license at that point of time would be helpful because you'll be able to write an email to that person because you know that name. So that is a basic, let's take a premium feature that you have. You will be able to search profiles to a certain extent, but not really like a hardcore business development tool. Whereas a sales navigator tool is one of those tools which is completely, let's take industry agnostic. You could be selling any product that you have in mind. You could be selling a very complex semiconductor, for example, to as something as simple as like a car tire, right? So even then, you will be able to make use of Sales Navigator to find the leads that you're looking for. Sales Navigator will give you an understanding in terms of which organizations you want to work for, how many players are there in the market, what would be the opportunity size or TAM, as we like to say it on the sales side of things. All of those things become part of Sales Navigator, and more importantly, it is a lead, let's take a lead finding mechanism through which you can find the direct leads whom you should be talking to. So instead of, let's take, doing an mass advertisement for people in a particular sector, if you know that this is a company that I really want to work for, Sales Navigator will enable it for you to know who is the person in that company you should be talking to. So that is a core difference as far as regular premium is concerned versus, let's take a Sales Navigator license. So a salesperson will always ask for a Sales Navigator license. A business owner will be okay even with a premium license in that regards, right? So that is, I hope I've answered your question. Maybe once I show the tools on Sales Navigator, people will get to see the real difference. But yeah, happy to answer any more questions that you have before we begin.
Okay. Thanks, Anup. Thank
Yeah,
you very much for the quick introduction on the Sales Navigator tool. Before we go into this, demo process and all that,
yeah,
probably I would like to ask one more question. Okay.
sure.
What are the top three use cases that, or top two or three, whatever it could be, use cases that, that you can suggest that could benefit the small businesses particularly, and that can benefit them really, really to the great extent.
Yeah. So it's just a small deviation from the answer that I had already given in terms of difference between premium and Sales Navigator, especially for small businesses, right? The small businesses don't have a massive amount of arsenal from marketing perspective. Let's take it could be a physical marketing or online marketing, right? It is an expensive affair to do marketing uh, on both ways, right? Physical or online. Whereas with Sales Navigator, it makes it easier for a smaller business to identify the ideal companies or set of companies that you want to work with. And that is what Sales Navigator will allow you to do. So avoid the expense that you are going to have, a big expense that you're going to have on the marketing side. So that is the first advantage. Second advantage, that it will give you access to companies or accounts which you might not be even aware of. You could be sitting on your, let's say you could be having an office, let's say somewhere in Chandigarh, and let's say you want to focus on selling into NCR region, and your focus is on selling into everybody who is, let's take, in the pharmaceutical space. You might think that, hey, you have done your prospecting and you have met a few people and you know that this is a total addressable market. But when you're sitting on Sales Navigator, you'll realize that, hey, there are so many pharma companies in Noida that I've never even heard of. And that is what happens even to me. I've been using Sales Navigator not just for the last 9 years of me being at LinkedIn, but even before that, for 4 years when I was working for Tata Group. Even then, I used to use Sales Navigator to understand what is happening across the market that I was supporting back then. So that is the second use case. The third use case that I had was about, let's take, identifying the right set of people. So you may not know exactly who is, let's take, an HR head of a particular company, or let's say you may not know who is the engineering head of a particular company. Right. So these are the opportunities that you end up getting when you're using Sales Navigator. When you go inside any specific account, you will know who are the decision maker, what is happening in their world. So that are something, these are the three things that I always depend on when I'm using Sales Navigator. I identify which markets, I identify which companies within that market, and then I identify leads within those companies. So those are the three things that I typically solve for. Top three things, I should say, I solve for when using Sales Navigator.
Yeah, it's a bit of eye opener for me as well. I extensively use LinkedIn and some of the
Yeah,
premium features, but I never knew that, you can also reach out to the prospects whom you are not aware. Something I think it is
yeah,
very, very, very promising feature, and
mm,
probably it would be good if you can take us through the demo and try to
sure,
explain us some of the premium features and how effectively it can be used by the users
sure,
in that domain. Yeah.
sure. Yeah, so I think there are, we'll just basically talk about the features right now from a Sales Navigator perspective. I believe there are quite a few questions which are there on the chat. We'll get to it once we have done a bit of demo. See, this is not going to be a long demo. It's a very complicated but a very simple tool to understand. Right. So it has got a lot of features which are AI driven. So that is something which is already built in. So I'll talk about some of those when using Sales Navigator. The tool that we'll be demoing today would be something called a Sales Navigator Advanced. That is the tool which I used, right? So I'm just going to start sharing my screen. Let me know once you are able to see it.
Yes, the screen
You are
is
able to see it?
visible. Yeah, yeah, it's
Perfect.
visible.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is how it works. So let's take, for example, once you have taken a subscription for Sales Navigator, your profile becomes a premium profile. So you end up getting the golden in badge. And on the top right-hand corner, you end up getting a Sales Navigator demo or Sales Navigator account. So for example, this is my Sales Navigator. Um, I'll talk about the basics. How do I set up my Sales Navigator to give me leads and, let's take, accounts that I should be working on a regular basis? So there is something called as a persona. So you're going to set up a persona for yourself that will allow you to get more accounts and more leads which are in the business of your interest. So if you could be selling, let's take even something which is like a manufacturing product, and you will be able to get more leads similar to the way you use the tool. So it is all driven by how you use the tool. So more and more of those leads will come to you. So for example, when I go to the persona section, I have created my persona to kind of talk about which are the people I want to sell to. So for example, I want to sell to CXOs, vice president, directors, owners, partner. These are the titles which are of interest to me, which is co-founder, chief executive officer. The markets which I support, I manage the West region for LinkedIn. So I support Maharashtra, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, and Goa. So for me, Mumbai, Pune, let's say Indore, these are all markets which are of importance to me and the people within that. I also have some, let's take, not some, quite a decent amount of business that I end up getting with companies which are headquartered in US, but having a subsidiary in India. So I do look at, let's take, some senior level movement happening in that particular market. So it is region agnostic as well as market agnostic. So you can try region agnostic as well as industry agnostic. So you can be trying to kind of reach out to markets which you want to us or which you aspire to kind of support. So if you tomorrow think that, hey, I want to support companies in Middle East, you can actually go ahead and put the preferred region as per your requirement in this section. Once your persona is set, right, the tool will then start using a lot of AI functionalities to understand what type of leads you are more interested in. So the first thing that
So
I end up,
Anu,
go on. Yeah, yeah, sure.
just to interrupt you for a minute. In the
Sure.
persona section, how one can define the persona? Is there any mechanism to define your persona or
Yeah,
edit or
yeah. So
something?
it's very simple. So once you click on the option here, create a new persona. Here you can see, let's take for example the name. So this is a first name. So let's take, I'm just going to do a test one here. And let's take functions which are of interest to you. So let's take, you would typically sell to, let's take engineering department. For example, I sell to human resources marketing, and let's take administrative function. So I'll put that up. Then I'll select seniority level. Let's take, for example, you happen to sell to somebody who's like at a VP level, okay, or a strategic level. So those kind of, let's take profiles you can actually go ahead and put in this section. You can also put job titles. So for example, you want to sell to CXOs, then you can actually go ahead and put those titles. Okay, so let's take, for example, Chief Executive Officer, Financial Officer, and so on and so forth. And then you can just put the region, and that would be your start as far as setting the persona. But yeah, thanks for asking that question. I think it was a basic one from for somebody who's not used it in the past, right? So it will be a very useful way to define your persona. After that, there are these buttons on the top which are of importance to you, which is accounts, leads, right, smart links, and messaging. Prospecting is a beta feature at the moment, so we are working on it as we speak. This beta feature basically will do a lot of prospecting for you. Say that, hey, every day when you log into Sales Navigator, it will say that, hey, why don't you work on this account today? Why don't you work on this particular person today, because he has moved from, let's take one of the companies that you are already working with, and they have gone to a new company, which is, and he's in a similar or a decision making role. So it will do that level of prospecting, and that is in beta stage. So it should be live in the next year for us. Next year basically means in the July cycle, because we operate in July to June cycle as far as Microsoft and LinkedIn is concerned. Okay, so this is what it is. Home is the feed which I'll come to at the end, because for me, this is probably the most important thing that I do every day. Is when I start my day, I come to Sales Navigator to identify which are the accounts or which are the people whom I should be working with. So for example, I sell a lot to recruitment firms in the West region. So I get a lot of these companies on the right hand side, which are in staffing, or let's take IT services domain. So these are the companies that I'm getting. These companies have shown a lot of interest in, let's take, working with somebody like LinkedIn. So that's why I'm getting these as a lead. I will click on the view decision makers here, and I'll automatically land on, let's take, some of the decision makers which are there within those companies. Okay, but I'll come to the home section in a bit. The first thing that I always do when I set up a new Sales Navigator license is to start looking at accounts. So now there are two ways to do it. So let's say if you're running your business and you know that these are the 20, 30 set of accounts that I want to work for, you can directly go ahead and create an account filter, and you can actually add those companies. Once you add those companies, you will get a lot of updates about the companies, what is happening in that company, so on and so forth. For me, a lot of these companies which are here are in the recruitment domain, because that is what I support a lot. What I would do is that, let's take, for example, I want to now build, I want to understand which are the companies there in a specific market, and I want to identify which ones I want to work with. So for example, I'll do something very simple. I'll go for account filters. When I click on account filters, what happens is that I get to decide what type of filters that I want to apply. So for example, I want to look at, let's take, companies which are headquartered currently in India, for example, and I want to see, let's take, people from a specific industry. So let's take, for example, I want to see somebody from, let's take, yeah, let's take defense and space manufacturing, right? So this is a hot industry at the moment. So let's take, if I was to look at defense and space manufacturing industry, as soon as I click on that, on the right hand side, I'll get to see the companies which are there. There are about 824 companies which are in this space at the moment. If I want, I can actually scroll through and save all these companies in my list. Basically, once I save these companies, I'll get to see updates happening in this particular space, right? What I will do after that is that I will, let's take, for example, look at companies for a particular headcount. If you want to work for a larger company, you can do that. If you want to work for a smaller company, you can select, let's take, the headcount in this region. I also want to look at companies which are currently growing. So let's take these companies which are growing by more than 10% is what I want to work with, because these companies might be actually getting a lot of, let's take, business, and they're growing. So I want to work with a company like that. Now this is it. So let's say, for example, these are 230 companies which are growing by more than 10%. Out of 830, I've narrowed down the list to 230. Now this becomes very manageable for me. I will select all, save this to the list. Once I save it to the list, every time there is any kind of update or any senior leadership move which happens in any of these companies, I will be notified. I'll make use of that data to kind of do prospecting, right, in this particular space. Okay, so just imagine a scenario where, let's take, for example, I have identified Tata Advanced Systems as a company that I want to work for or work with, for example. Once I click on this, what happens is that I get to see a lot of information. So for example, once I click on Tata Advanced System, I get to see there are more than 8,000 employees. There are 81 decision makers. And then I can scroll down and there are about 51 CXOs, which are there, VP CXOs in that particular space. I can actually go ahead and see account IQ. This is where I get to learn a bit more about Tata Advanced Systems. What is it that they are doing? So I can click on generate insights and it will start generating a lot of insights, which will be useful for me. This generate insights button is customizable as per the industry that you are in. For example, I sell LinkedIn Talent Solutions, which is basically a solution which is used by companies for doing recruitment. So I get to see where exactly is Tata Advanced System actually going ahead and investing their energies in terms of, let's take, recruitment is concerned. So for me, I get to see that information. If you are selling some other product, maybe if it is something related to, let's take, spare parts, you will get information about what is it that they are doing from a vendor management point of view. So depending on your company, it will start giving you insights, right? So that is something which becomes available for you. After that, it will give you some basic information in terms of, let's say, what is Tata Advanced Systems doing? How do they make money? Then it will give you what are some of the strategic priorities they have. What are the things that people are talking about? Okay, so they are focusing a lot more on the aerospace section at the moment. Of course, defense manufacturing is a big topic right now. India is trying to be more self-reliant. And on the right hand side, I get to see what are some of the strategic partnerships that they have. Now, these are something which you can actually use. For example, if you're already working with one of their partners, you can use that as a reference when you're reaching out to somebody who is a senior person at Tata Advanced System. On the right hand side, you can get to see some of the key stakeholders depending on the profile that you have made. So let's say who is the chief financial officer, who is the chairman, and so on and so forth, right? After that, it will give you things like business challenges. Now, this becomes important because everybody is trying to solve for their challenges. So you as an individual, if your company can help them solve any one of their challenges, that is going to be your entry point as far as that account is concerned. For example, if you want to reach out to a decision maker in that company and your company can actually go ahead and solve for that business challenge, you can actually reach out to that decision maker and say that, hey, I know that these are some of the business challenges that we have heard about. So you can actually quote. So it will give you things like where exactly this information is coming from. So you can say that, hey, we saw this article or we saw this particular reference about this being your business challenge. My company XYZ can actually solve for it. So you become like a strategic partner for that company rather than just another vendor who is trying to sell their services. So if you can talk about solving the challenges that they are facing, it will be a great entry point for you. Apart from that, it will give you things like competitive landscape. So if you, for example, want to look at companies which are similar to the advanced systems, you will be able to see those companies in this space. For me, I get a little bit more as far as strategic insight because I sell from a recruitment point of view. I get to see where there is a growth happening from an education sector, where exactly the growth is happening from quality section. So I will approach Tata Advanced System and say that, hey, we at LinkedIn know that you are actually growing in this particular section. We have X number of people who are, let's say, we could have somebody like, we could say that there are more than 4 million salespeople who are there in uh, Kolkata area, for example, on LinkedIn. Why don't we talk? Right. So that is something which I use when I'm reaching out to people in the in Tata Advanced System while looking at the data insights which are there here. Apart from that, let's take, for example, I can also look at, let's take for me, who are some of the decision makers that I should be talking to. I sell to see talent solutions, so I get CHRO's profile, their talent acquisitions profile. If you are selling to their manufacturing team, then you will get somebody who's head of operations or head of vendor management, and those profiles will be shown to you. After that, you can also create like a relationship map on your own. For example, you know that these are some of the decision maker. So you can add those decision makers profile and say that, let's take, I'm adding 3 profiles at random at the moment. Okay. And let's take, I'm going to create like my own chart in this moment. And let's take this person who is Shikhar. is like a main decision maker. And let's take, for example, this person is a champion. So for me, the more champions I have, the better, so that I'm able to influence the decision maker. So you can actually create like a heat map of the account using tools like this, right? You can also update your CRM. There are certain ones. I think there was one question about HubSpot and one more player. Uh, so yeah, it integrates with a lot of tools like Zoom Info as well as HubSpot when you are integrating your CRM with LinkedIn Sales Navigator, right? After that, it will give you, if your sales navigator, if in case your sales navigator is linked to your CRM, it will give you a little bit more in terms of, let's take, if you already have like an existing contract in place or existing conversation in place, you will be able to see information about that. So for example, if you have a new salesperson who has joined your company, and they don't know about what is a past interaction that they have had with this particular account, they will just be prospecting on Sales Navigator. When they come across that account, they'll see that, hey, my company has already had some business with them, and this was the business that we have done with them. You will be able to see that. After that, there is something called as buyer's intent. I love this actually as a feature. What it tells you is what is the kind of buyer's intent this company.
Anubhav,
Yeah, sure.
let's pause here for a couple of minutes and let's take a couple of questions. I think there are so many.
Sure.
Since we are talking, on this targeting
Yeah,
aspect, can we just address couple of questions that we have? The first
sure.
question is from Mangesh. He is asking, can a company have a sales navigator properly, other than a particular person or the individual? Can a company, have a
No.
sales
It has
navigator?
to be a salesperson on of that company. A company cannot have a sales navigator. So if you have 10 people in your sales team and you want to give all 10 people a sales navigator, then you'll need to take 10 sales navigator licenses from LinkedIn. A company cannot
So,
take one and all use at the same time.
okay, so my next question is
Yeah,
is a question to that. Let's say I'm a sales head of an organization and I'm interacting with someone very higher up in the Tata Advanced Systems, and I
sure.
suddenly left the company and somebody else and joins in.
Yeah.
From this feature, how somebody else can track that, whether what kind of interaction has happened and all that, because my LinkedIn ID is something different from the other person's LinkedIn ID. How the link is set?
Okay, so you are asking the question from a person point of view. For example,
Right.
let's take I and you, we are both working in the same company, and I was working with some senior person at Tata Advanced System, and I leave the organization. Now
Yes.
you are the one taking over.
Uh,
No, so the handover has to be, if it is documented on CRM, you will be able to see the documentation on CRM. Otherwise, you will have to call me up and ask what is the conversation that I was having with them. See, sales people are very territorial. So, for example, unless and until I'm sharing all my information, or there is a policy in the organization in terms of sharing information about an account, only then I'll be updating all the information about Tata Advanced System on this particular tool. For example, phone number, email addresses of all the stakeholders, right? That is something which I can actually update on Sales Navigator, and I'll show you that part when I come to it. But yeah, otherwise, you will be able to see all the notes that I have left as far as the account is concerned once you take over, provided I have put the notes, or it is the responsibility of the company to tell the salespeople that you need to update the notes because the next person will need a handover as far as the account is concerned. So that is how you can actually get the handover in case a salesperson is leaving and a new salesperson comes.
okay. Thank you, Anup. Then another question: can
Sure.
someone view the organization hierarchy of the target company?
Yeah, so the organization hierarchy is something which we kind of tried to give, but what happened is that we realized that the movement of people may not make it 100% accurate. So what LinkedIn does is that it will any which ways give you the details of all the CXOs. So now you can make the map on your own. So we cannot actually keep, let's take give like, hey, this is the organization hierarchy, because people tend to move a lot in and out. Sometimes they don't update their LinkedIn profile, but it will basically go ahead and tell you like, hey, these are some decision makers which are there within the company. Now you can just go ahead and create like a quick map for yourself so that it becomes relevant for you. I mean, see, an organization hierarchy could be vast, right? But for me, the salesperson the person who of interest to me is only going to be one particular department. For me, it is HR department, for example. So for me, I get to kind of map who are the decision makers within HR department, and it doesn't give you like a holistic organization structure because nobody else apart from that specific company has that mapped. Even the specific companies I used to work for Tata, we used to not map it as often because the movement used to be quite a bit. But yeah, but you can make your own organization structure using the data points which are already present in front of you.
Thank you. Before we move to the next section,
Sure,
probably I will take one more question, which is
sure.
regarding the data source. Okay, there is a question from Siddharth.
Hmm.
He asked, "How does the system understand the business challenges of a company?" You spoke about that, right?
Yeah,
It gives some insights about the business
yeah,
challenges and what the company is going through.
yeah.
What is the data source for that? Any insights or how
Yeah, so
you pull
data
it?
sources are mentioned here. So we have tie-ups with a lot of media agencies, right? So we have mechanisms to talk about competition, challenges, strategic gaps, right? So these are some words, keywords that we pick up, and we'll give you those sources, like where exactly we got this information from. So you'll be able to see the sources directly. So it is not like data that LinkedIn is creating on its own. It is coming in from some media channel, and if the media channel has kept that particular source or kept that source active, that means that let's take company doesn't have any problem with that. So for example, if let's take expansion and operational challenges article was written by Economic Times at one point of time, Tata Advanced System, if in case the information was incorrect, could have taken that article down. They did not, which means that this information could be considered as a business challenge or a strategic challenge for that company. So the sources will be shown to you, not just on the competition, but for everything else.
Got it. Okay, probably we can move to the next section, which is like
Sure, sure.
buyer intent and all that. Okay.
Yeah, so I was at the buyer's intent. Now, basically,
Yeah.
what happens here is that let's take, for example, if you happen to go and meet one customer, okay, let's take, for example, you could be, let's take selling spare parts to Tata Advanced Systems, maybe something like an ancillary business, uh, and you present your service offerings to them. Let's take you meet them in the month of April. It is not necessary that in the month of April itself they will start moving and kind of considering you as a partner. What happens is that they probably take your presentation, they understand a little bit more about your business, and they keep you as one of the vendors of interest for them. Suddenly, what happens is they get some sort of a, let's take for example, in this case, there was we had Operation Sindoor and there was a war, and then now everybody gets serious about defense. Now, what happens is that let's take Tata Advanced System now starts getting more and more inquiries, and now they want to work with other vendors to kind of scale their operations. Now, when that happens, what happens here is that they will start visiting the profile of the salesperson that they had met, or they will go to the company page of that particular company to understand what is it that they have to offer. As soon as they visit your profile, as soon as they visit your company page to understand a bit more about your company, their bias intent score will go up. I kind of depend on it because what happens is that if somebody is going to LinkedIn and checking out the profiles of the employees, checking out the product features of my services, what happens is that that shows that they are interested probably in talking about them. So for me, whenever the bias intent goes up, I approach the decision makers in that company, ask them, hey, I see that some of the people in your company are curious about LinkedIn's offering. Why don't we talk? I can answer any questions that we have, and then we take it forward from there. So bias intent will do that work for you, tell you when companies are showing interest in your services or the products that you have to offer. So that is something which I always reference. You will see more of it even on my home page when I come to it. Apart
No,
from
so
that,
so it's a intelligent feature, right? It comes
yeah,
from
it
the.
is. It is. I mean, I don't think you can call it an intelligence. It is basically soon as you click on click on somebody's company page. For example, if I click on nasscom's company page, right, and I see, let's say, sort of your profile, I will, let's say, go to the about us section of nasscom on LinkedIn and check what are some of the services nasscom has to offer. So somebody who's at the sales team at NASSCOM will get a notification that, hey, LinkedIn seems to be interested in your services. Or this person within LinkedIn may have actually gone ahead and visited your website. So it will give you that level of information. Let's take a director level employee from Bangalore and 11 more employee visited LinkedIn's website. In this case, visited NASSCOM's website. So you'll get those type of insights. So your
Okay.
salesperson will then reach out to, let's take in my case, if it is somebody who's at an executive level, I say it will say executive level employee visited your company page. So they will see the profiles which are there, mine and few more, and they will reach out to me and say that, hey, Anup, you visited. Did you visit? Or yeah, if you visited, can I help you with anything specific that you're looking for? And that's how the conversations can begin. Right. So this is how the bias activity is shown to you. It will have different types of activities kind of spread across different days. Right. After that, once you have gone through it, you can scroll through it till for a couple of months worth of data. Then it will give you things like growth insights as well in terms of how their employee count has grown, where is the distribution, what kind of distribution they carry in terms of headcount growth, who are the new hires, right? And I'll talk about new hires a little bit more as I go along. Then that becomes quite important. Then it will kind of tell you about what is it that they are probably trying to kind of hire for. For example, currently they have got a few requirements for arts and design at the moment. If your company is into arts and design for, let's say, weapon systems, then this becomes your opportunity, stating that, hey, I see that you're growing your team in this particular department. Why don't I work with you so that you are able to you are able to kind of outsource some of that art and design works to me, and that is how you can get some business, right? So that is how you can get some information and so on and so forth. You'll get like persona level leads. So depending on the personas that I've created, so I've created 3 personas. I get to see there are 51 leads that I can potentially reach out to within Tata Advanced System, right? It will also give you an insights. Like let's take if a salesperson is visiting Tata Advanced System, that same person is also visiting these companies. So it's expanding your horizon from a business development perspective. It always solves for, let's take every salesperson tends to think when things are not going well that, hey, my market is saturated. I've already met all the important companies that I want to meet. But then let's say you come to Sales Navigator and realize that, hey, there are so many more that I have not reached out to. Right. So that is exactly what happens when you're using Sales Navigator and navigating through the companies. Okay, after that, it will give you things like, let's take this one, let's say call account alerts. So it will give you alerts related to the companies that I have saved at the moment. So for example, it has posted a new photo recently, and then I can see different types of movement happening as far as the employees are concerned. I can make use of this employee. I can also see view employees here. Like let's say some people are researching LinkedIn. I can view those employees and take it forward from there. Right. So that is how you can prospect your accounts, kind of understand who are the main people within that account, and do account identification for your own organization. Right. So this is one way of filtering. Second way is directly reaching out to leads. It is just a smaller extension to what we did earlier. So let's take, for example, you want to go for leads and you go for lead filter and you want to do like a mass outreach to a different set of people or understand which are different set of people for an industry that you want to sell into. So for example, let's look at a function. Let's look at an industry first. So let's take if you are selling some industrial, let's say some medical products, and you want to talk to companies which are in pharma manufacturing, right? This is the target audience that you have in mind. And let's take, for example, you want to look at functions here. So let's take you want to look at people who are in research as far as pharma manufacturing is concerned. You can actually go ahead and click on that. Then you can, let's take, for example, say that I want to look at companies in a particular geography. So let's take in this case, let's take in India. Okay, so this is on the right hand side, it is building your lead list. You now need to just basically go ahead and let's take filter out the ones that are relevant for you. You want somebody who has got more than 10 years of experience so that you get more senior candidates which are shown to you, or senior prospects which are shown to you. So that is how you can actually search. So there are more than 16,000, let's take uh, people in pharma and manufacturing industry with more than 10 years of experience. You want somebody with a particular job title, you can actually go ahead and search those profiles as well. Now, this is how you can actually get an idea about, let's take companies, or let's say leads that you're looking for. So instead of research, if you were to remove that and you want to, let's take look at title like, let's take, let's say you are selling into the chief financial officer. You can actually click on that and you will be able to get more manageable names or manageable list of people who you want to reach out to. Now, what I also do look at very closely is, let's take if I was to look at profiles. I always look at this particular tab to see mutual connections so that I can get some warm introductions as far as account is concerned. So, for example, I am selling to a chief financial officer of a pharma company. I have some product suite which caters to that market. And let's take out of the 22 mutual connections, Saurabh happens to be one of my mutual connections. So Saurabh will be more than happy. So for example, Saurabh and I know each other. I'll say, Saurabh, hey, there is a connection of yours, Mr. Mandar Borkar. He is the CFO of Kashif, and you are connected to him for a considerable period of time. Do you mind giving me a warm introduction? Saurabh will be like, hey, happy to kind of just talk about it. And yeah, he have been connected to him. I know him XYZ. So always look at connections or leads which are having some mutual connection. It will always help you to get some warm introduction as far as your business development is concerned. So this is how you can identify certain leads. Now, for example, if I was to pick that profile up, right? So let's say I open up Mandar's profile. Okay, on the right hand side, I'll be able to see a lot of profiles. And now I click on his profile. Here, I was talking to you about, let's say, how we update some data. So we had a few data points. So I had put some information about, let's take Mandar. Somebody had, not me, but since we are part of the same ecosystem, somebody at LinkedIn would have put those details. And that's why those numbers are shared. In case you don't have any contact number mentioned here or email address mentioned here, what you can do to reach out to Mandar would be you can actually scroll through in this section to identify what are some of the uh, introduction channels that you can use. So, for example, on the left hand side, I know of a few CXOs who are connected to Mandar. So, for example, I know Grijesh who runs a recruitment firm called as Resonokil. I can actually ask Grijesh to give me an introduction with Mandar and take it forward from there, right? So, if he doesn't have, if Grijesh tell me, hey, you know what, I don't know him really well, and I realize that maybe nobody here in my network knows him that well, then what I can do is that I can actually go ahead and click on the message button here and use the InMails that LinkedIn has to go ahead and reach out to Mandar. We are working on a beta version of InMails. What happens is that depending on the industry that you're in, it will draft an compelling AI generated message for Mandar. So Mandar will feel that, hey, Anup has actually researched my profile and also is talking really well about where exactly he can solve my problems and write a very personalized note as far as Mandar is concerned, right? So this is how you can actually go ahead and reach out to a lead. This is a cold outreach. In case I am not able to get warm introductions from anybody in my network, I can reach out to them via email if I don't have access to any other details of Mandar. For example, phone number, his email address. If I don't have any information, I can reach out to them via messaging. So with each Sales Navigator license, you end up getting 50 emails per month. These emails work on credit back. So for example, I write to 10 people today. Out of the 10 people, let's say six people respond back to me. Six emails are credited into my account. I can use those six emails to reach out to more number of people. And that is how uh, Sales Navigator license is used to do cold outreach as far as your leads are concerned. Identify which leads are important to you, and accordingly, you can reach out to them. Right. Yeah. Happy to take a pause before I move into a couple of other features uh, of LinkedIn Sales Navigator.
Sure, sure, Anup. There are a couple of questions. In fact, probably
Sure.
we can take couple of them.
Yeah.
There are a few questions on the subscription plan and the features that comes along with that.
Hmm.
So there is a person called Rupesh. He's asking, we have LinkedIn, a premium LinkedIn account, Sales Navigator account. However, we could not find account IQ and buyer intent features. So he's asking which plan will be the best suitable plan to avail the same.
Interesting. So yeah, so account IQ and bias intent are both features of the advanced version of Sales Navigator. So it is just a second level of Sales Navigator that we have to offer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please take note, Rupesh, if that answers
Yeah.
your query. There is a question from Karan. Karan Singh, he
Hmm.
is asking, is it possible for more than one person to log into the same LinkedIn Sales Navigator account from two different cities? I have heard
No.
that LinkedIn may block the account in such cases.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, our business
So,
model is dependent on individual Sales Navigator user. So yeah, if you use one account login from If one account is shared, there are multiple ways in which LinkedIn will be able to yeah, assess whether the account is shared or not. If you are sharing the license, it would get blocked. Also, it is quite dangerous, right? So don't share your credentials with anybody as far as your profile is concerned. You won't believe the number of times I get requests from my clients stating that, hey, I've shared my username, password with somebody, and this person has ended up posting something not so nice about me or not so nice about my company, and it has basically given negative ramifications. It's a social media profile, or let's say professional media profile, any which way. So be very careful. We any which ways are trying to kind of protect people from getting hacked and stuff like that by using different channels. But yeah, you cannot share your profiles with anybody, and from different two different cities, you can use one license.
So, okay, there is Javed, and his question is: if a person is visiting our company profile or our my page, does the Sales Navigator provide the contact details of that lead? Is it possible? Or,
Uh,
or, or by in some other way, is it possible to get contact details or email IDs of the key resources of the target account in any way?
No, the contact details is not shared. So you can, of course, go ahead and put up like a hyperlink on your company page or your profile, like, hey, if you're interested in my services, please click on this link and share your details. You can do that. But LinkedIn by default doesn't capture the phone numbers of people and share it with them
Okay.
on any particular way. So we will not
Or,
be in a position to share it.
or in any way there is another special subscription plan or
No,
something which entails that. Okay, no, no,
no,
no
no, no.
subscription plan,
Yeah,
no subscription plan as far as contact details is concerned, right?
correct.
It is only when somebody is connected to the other person, and other person contact detail is visible or made public, then only the person could be able to view, right? There is no other
Correct.
way.
Yeah, that's right. 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 So if you are
Okay.
connected to me, and if you have one of the recruitment tools, you will be able to see my email address, but not my contact details. That are always, yeah, always private to the individual. Yeah.
Okay. There are two quick question.
Sure.
By the way, an interesting one from Murli. How
Hmm.
do I differentiate between a AI generated content or approach from someone who has really saw and sent me an DM?
Very difficult to kind of make out whether it is AI generated or in person, right? Unless and until you have some smart proctoring tools which kind of identifies. There are certain tools I've heard in the market which identifies whether the content is AI generated or written by a human. So unless you really want to go inside and find it, yeah, I there is nothing that I would yeah, I would be able to say that, hey, this is an AI generated content.
So,
Not
so
from LinkedIn.
basically, in LinkedIn does not have any inbuilt tool
Oh no, LinkedIn
which
will not
product.
say. No, no.
Okay.
LinkedIn will not say that, hey, this is an AI generated email uh, to an individual. I mean, almost 99% of the time, people, even if let's take a big chunk of the email is AI generated, they always make sure that there is something which is edited. Like, for example, even if I'm writing to Mandar here in this case, I will make sure that some parts of it is edited so that so that Mandar understands exactly what I am trying to communicate with him and what is the kind of solution that I have to offer to him. So I will always edit it out a little bit. And the tool will
Uh,
keep learning from you as you go along. So next version will be slightly better than the previous version.
Probably one more question before we move to the next
Sure,
section. Yeah.
sure.
There's a question from Javed again. If somebody has changed his mobile number or email ID, is there
Hmm.
any way I get the notification?
No, yeah,
No.
no.
Okay. Only somebody changes the job or profile, that only that gets flashed or notified, right? That
Yeah, so
alert comes.
if I have, let's take for example, if you have put up your, let's take your Gmail account on LinkedIn, and you and I are connected. So let's take sort of you and I are connected, and let's take after some time you change your email account from Gmail account to nasscom account, and let's take I happen to basically go to your profile also on the very next day or same day. I'll be able to see your nasscom account. I'll not be able to see your Gmail account. Depends on the way you have when you have shared your email. But I'll not get a notification that Saurabh has changed his email address. Go and check it out. It won't come.
Okay.
Yeah,
A couple of more questions, so quite
sure,
practical questions, in fact. So
sure.
good to understand. So how somebody can do or mass messaging via Sales Navigator? Whether is it possible or not, or if it's possible, then how someone can do it? That's one question.
Hmm.
Second question is that, for example, I have given Sales Navigator access to some of my sales person. Okay, some resource in my team, but somebody leaves the organization. What happens to that account, or that the license, navigator license? It goes with that person, or can I some way get back that rights along with me
Yeah,
if somebody is paying for that employees from the corporate side? These are the
yeah.
two questions. Yeah.
Okay, so the first question, answer to the first question is about mass messaging. Uh, we don't encourage that for the at the outset because the InMail quota is limited. So we encourage people to go ahead and let's take for example reach out one on one. So when you are doing this at this moment, so let's take if you are here, you're selecting all 25 of them, you will have to send InMail messages to them individually. That is what is also recommended because everybody will get a different email out depending on. So I've messaged about talked about AI generated message. So let's take Ramakant's profile will be slightly different than Mandar's profile. So you will get different emails out. So we don't recommend it at the moment from a sales navigator point of view. The second question was related to let's take data of an individual. So yes, so what happens in this case or data or let's take the licenses. If you're taken 10 licenses at a company level, let's say Brigade Group here has taken 10 licenses for the sales team, and let's say one of the salesperson leaves, the salesperson doesn't take the sales navigator along with them. It then what happens is that let's take for example, it will show on their dashboard, which is a sales navigator dashboard, 9 out of 10 are used, one person has left. So that one license, which is a new license, uh, can be assigned to the new representative that they hire, new salesperson that they hire. So that transfer of license is possible from person who has left to the new person who has been hired by that company. So that is how the transfer happens as far as account is concerned. It all happens on an administrative level as far as that particular company is concerned. So companies, if you have taken the sales navigator license at a company level, then the salesperson doesn't take your data along with them.
Okay.
Yes.
Good to know that.
Perfect. Yeah. So
Yeah.
just two more features, and then we can just kind of
Sure.
take questions. The one
Sure.
last,
Sure.
yeah, one last one was regarding let's take smart links. Now, smart links is an option where you can actually go ahead and upload documents or let's take proposals or invoices and stuff like that. So, for example, when you click on new smart links, here you can click on add. Once you click on add, you can add like an attachment of document proposals and anything or links. For example, in this section, you can select website or links, and you can then once you have created it, you upload that document. Once the upload is document is uploaded, it will give you a thread. Like let's take for example, it says talent trends with LinkedIn. I can copy this link, for example, once the document is uploaded, and then I can paste this link anywhere I want. I'll give you a quick example. We had done an event in Ahmedabad and I had spoken about let's take new talent trends. And we had bunch of recruitment firm owners who were there as part of the event. So this is that post. Okay, so here it said yeah, so it says that sorry, not this one, this one. So this is that post, and I spoke about, let's take for example, if you want to understand some of the new talent trends, click on this link. Once people clicked on this link, people were able to see the talent trends presentation that I had actually gone ahead and uploaded in this section. And I, at the back end, was able to see who are these people who clicked on it. So this is how I was able to capture leads. Once I saw these names, let's say Krinku, Ashish, right? Riaz, these are the people who ran recruitment firms in Ahmedabad. I was able to actually reach out to them, ask them, hey, I saw you showed interest. And some of them I was able to convert as well as far as the business was concerned. So they had some questions. I was able to answer those questions, spoke a little bit about what LinkedIn can help them do. And we later on onboarded them as a customer. So this is how you can do lead capture using smart links. This is again part of the advanced features of the Sales Navigator license. And lastly, what I wanted to cover was the home section. This is where I spent my time when I log into the day. So as soon as I log in to my Sales Navigator account, I look at, let's take for example, companies which are showing interest in LinkedIn at the moment on the right hand side. So for example, Radiant System Security, for example, is showing interest with LinkedIn. I will visit this company page, understand which are the employees who are showing interest, and ask my business development partner to reach out to them. So I have somebody who makes calls for me and sets up meetings. So I will actually ask that person to reach out to some of the decision makers here. So this is one section which I look at from a priority accounts point of view. And the mainly, I also can look at, let's take updates that are happening here. So let's take, if I have identified 50 accounts, that was the first step we did. We were able to identify, like, let's take, there are some companies in defense space, and I was able to save them to the list. As soon as I click on the accounts filter, I'm able to see what is happening as far as the companies are concerned. If there is any company in the defense space which is researching LinkedIn, I get a notification in this section. I have to click on view employees and filter out the ones that I really, really want. Right. So that is how I'm able to kind of look at accounts. Similarly, if I have saved leads, I can actually click on the leads filters, and I will be able to see what are some of my leads talking about. Now, for example, Alfonso Valdez is talking about building in AI in healthcare is a huge responsibility. Now, he's talking about that. Now, for example, Sanket Patil, who runs a recruitment firm, he is trying to hire for some SAP CRM functional consultant. I will reach out to Sanket and say that, hey, Sanket, I see that these are some of the positions that you had posted. LinkedIn has certain tools which will help you find those people very, very quickly. And we have this type of database available with us. And that is how I will try to create, like, let's take excitement as far as Sanket is concerned to sell LinkedIn solutions to them. So this is how you can actually stay updated about what is it that your company or your leads are talking about. Here you will also get a notification. Let's take some leads you have identified. If they have moved from company A to company B, it will show here as a notification. That is probably one of the fastest way to get into an account, because what happens is that whenever there is a decision maker, so for example, you are doing the leads filter also, you will be able to see this. This is an this is one of the filters which is very, very popular. So for example, here you can actually see, let's take, let me just quickly share that with you. Okay, there is, when there is a senior leadership change, whenever that happens, it is a notification which is very popular. So for example, here there is senior leadership changes in the last 3 months. And let's take, I want to look at companies in India. Okay, so let's take, I'm just going to do a quick search. So there have been quite a few senior leadership changes in different companies in Mumbai at the moment. I'm going to select, let's say, company of a particular head count. Let's take this one. Okay, so there has been a senior leadership hire which has happened at A Garg and Consultancy. So this person who has recently joined them, Dhwani Nathwani, I will actually reach out to Dhwani, congratulate her for her new role, and say that, hey, these are some of the services that we have to offer. Whenever you have settled down, let me know. We can talk about how we can partner with you. What we have seen is whenever there is a new leadership change which happens within the company, this person is very, very responsive, because they are keen to make certain changes. They are keen to kind of get new vendors in play, and they also might want to change certain things within the organization. So sometimes they tend to evaluate their existing partnerships, stop the existing partnership, and get onboarded onto a new partnership. So it is one of the most preferred filters as far as LinkedIn is concerned. That's why it is put in the spotlight section here, which talks about, let's say, some of the senior leadership hires in the last 3 months. It's a very popular filter that, again, you can get on the home section. Whenever there is a new leadership change which has happened, it will be notified on your screen. You can use that information to congratulate the person, and then talk about what is it that you can offer as a service to them. Right. So home section is where you will spend most of your time when you start your day while using Sales Navigator. Yeah, that's it. That's all. Sales Navigator has many other features. Of course, I can't show all of them. We do give like lots of training material once you get onboarded as a Sales Navigator partner. Apart from that, you can also join Sales Navigator communities, When you join the communities, you get to communicate with various salespeople who are part of that community and learn from them as well. This is global in nature, so if you want to learn about international business development also, you can actually be part of the communities and learn from them. Perfect. I'm happy to take a pause and
So
take it up from there.
yeah. So you talked about the community, which is a very interesting idea.
Hmm.
So once somebody is a user of Sales Navigator or
Yeah.
somebody is taken a subscription license, is access to that community is a byproduct of that, or
Yeah.
somebody has
While
to
you are
take.
having the Sales Navigator license, you will be part of that community. Yeah.
Okay, so that's a add-on tool to
Add-on part
to.
of it. Correct. Yeah.
Okay, lovely. Then a couple of more questions that
Sure.
because I could see that there are many people who have raised questions about some of the functionalities not available in their Sales Navigator license and all that. Is
Yeah.
there any way, or can you just share one email ID or something where they can write all their queries if they are experiencing some issues or something? Probably they can get some support. Is there a possibility?
Yeah. So very simple. So you would need to, there is no email address. What you can do is that you can click on the question mark logo on the top right hand corner, select the option chat with support. Once you click on chat with support, you can just type the word consultant or an agent here. A person from LinkedIn Sales Navigator team will join and will help them out with whatever queries that you have. So let's take if somebody has a basic version, wants the features of the advanced version, you can ask them here and they will be able to help you out with the features and the upgrades and so on and so forth. So yeah, just question mark, chat with support.
Okay, so that is all live chat, no bots or something, right?
There is, of course, initially, of course, there is a program that will run. So if you type the word agent or a consultant, a person will join faster. So it will say, okay, if you say agent, then it will ask you a question, what is it related to? Is it related to accounts filter or is it related to emails? You select one of them. Let's say you talk about filters or account filters. So it will say that, okay, it will give an prompt to the agent that, hey, somebody wants to know a little bit about account filters, and that person will then join and will enable the new filters that you want on your Sales Navigator from there.
Okay, so there is a question from Beneath. Is there a free trial available for the Sales Navigator Advanced? Probably, I think it's
In the
limited
past,
to. Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
yeah. So if let's say if I haven't used Sales Navigator in the past, I can actually ask. I mean, when you go to the Sales Navigator tab on the top right hand corner, you will be given an option to trial it for free. Yeah, after you put your details, you'll be able to get access to that tool for a month for free.
And also, there is a question from Rishikesh. How many prospects can I reach out every day using Sales Navigator? It's a day-wise filtration that applies, or it's
No, so
a.
it is monthly. So it you can open as many profiles that you want actually on Sales Navigator. So that's not a big challenge from opening the profile as far as advanced filters are concerned. When you want to outreach, how do you want to outreach? If your outreach is via email, then in a month you can send 50 emails, depending on whom you want to reach out to. Let's take if you are sending emails and getting fast responses from the candidates, then or let's say prospects, then you can actually go ahead and send out more because every time you write and somebody responds, you get that email credited into your account. So that is how it works. On a daily basis, you will have to look at, let's take if you, I mean, firstly, it is not always that you will send emails. I will first check whether I can get a warm introduction. So I will always look for that first. If I know this person, I can, and if I know the phone number of the board line, many a times cold calling works. In India, for some reason, people are very shy of cold calling. It always works. It's in fact easier when you say that, hey, when you call up the board line number and say that, hey, I want to speak to this person from your finance team. Many a times, board line people who operate the board lines transfer the line over. So yeah, don't worry too much about not calling cold. And then let's take, for example, after that, if you can figure out their email address, you typically know it's first name dot last name at xyzcompany.com. Reach out to them via that. If that also doesn't work, then of course you have in mails that you can use to reach out to people.
Yeah, understood. Probably, I think we are well past our the allocated
Yeah,
time. Probably we can take one last questions, before we
sure.
wrap up this session. Okay, so one question that comes to my mind, You know, is that whenever somebody is looking out to reach out to some of the key high value target account,
Yeah.
there are many people who takes the decision. Okay,
Yeah.
and it's always important to uh, take the mind share among all the key decision makers, right? It's not a one way street. Like if I'm trying to sell it to one CEO in a one, or chief commercial officer in a particular organization, he is going to take the decision. No, probably there are three other people who are going to influence that decision. Okay,
Sure.
so in that sense, how the sales navigator can be helpful uh, to the a sales guy who is looking to make some inroads into the new targets, and also at the same time capturing the mind share among all the key stakeholders within that organization. Is there any possibility, or is there any features that can be really useful in this scenario?
Yeah, sure. So, for example, we look at, let's say if you're trying to sell to one particular, let's say you said key high value account, and let's take you are always trying to sell to one particular department of the company, right? The vendor management eventually comes into picture, but you are trying to sell the solution to, let's say, finance team or marketing team, or let's take engineering team, and so on and so forth. So I always look at, let's take filtering, let's take company by the departments. So let's take, if I was to look at one particular department, and I have to use a bottoms up approach. So let's take, for example, let's take I look at a company like Shell in India. There the titles may not be very lofty. The titles may not be like a vice president or executive vice president. There probably a general manager could be a really powerful position in that company. Then somebody who's like a junior manager, assistant manager. So you can make up your own mind, like, hey, this person who is a general manager has the most amount of experience in this company. If I was to reach out to him, if I'm selling solution to Shell and this person is of interest to me, I can reach out to him directly and sell my solution. That's a call you have to take. If you want to create like more champions, then you should look at the hierarchy, or in the sense that you look at the titles and make up the hierarchy on your own mind, that okay, general manager is the decision maker, assistant general manager probably is one level below him, deputy general manager could be one level even below. So I want to start mapping, let's say, the assistant general managers at the moment, and I'll reach out to maybe one or two. They may be more receptive to you because everybody will reach out to general manager, right? Whoever is your competition, for them that's the target audience. An assistant general manager may not be getting as many outreach, so he might be more comfortable sharing more details with you, and then you take it up from there. So you make up your own organization chart for that particular department. And then let's say if you have convinced one assistant general manager, then that becomes your champion on the hierarchy, and that's how you take it up from there. So you map the organizations by the department, and that is how you can identify whom to reach out to when, from your solution set point of view.
Good, quite insightful, Anu.
Sure.
Though there are a long list of questions,
I'm
but due to
sorry. Yeah.
due to positive time, we won't be able to
Sure.
take. But before that, I once again thank you for your time, for your effort to explain the features and some of the the possibilities that could arise from the usage of this wonderful tool that we have.
Sure.
I look forward to stay connected with you, or maybe do one more interaction going forward on
Sure.
this, since this seems to be a high impact, highly interesting topic for the audience, and I look forward to stay connected with you. Thank you, Anup. Thank you very much, and for everyone who are there, or who are still there, or who were there. We are going to host this video entire recording on our NASCOM SME YouTube page. You will be able to access the content from the YouTube directly. Thank you very much, and wish you a lovely evening and happy weekend. Thank you.
Happy weekend, everyone. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Yes. Thanks.